Well, I mean, we would have to wait a second, but hopefully, yeah, we'll give it a couple seconds to see if he shows up.
Cool, we're live. Anyone that's attending, stop by, say hi. You can leave a comment, questions in the chat while we're having this session, and we'll get to them along the way, and we're ready to go.
Okay, thanks, David. Okay, hi, everybody. I wish we were together. I see some friendly names out there. I'm sorry I can't see your faces with the software platform, but hello, those of you that were able to join us. My name is Brianna Vaughn. I'm the Water Quality Program Coordinator for the Bishop Paiute Tribe, and the title of our presentation is Leveraging Your Network to Build Program Capacity. And I want to remind you before we start this that you can network in the way that we're going to share to increase the capacity of any tribal environmental program and not just water. And I'm going to start by introducing you to my friends and colleagues, Angela Reed, who's the Water Resources Planner from Penobscot Indian Nation, and Kunal Marwaha, who is a jack of many trades, software engineer, quantum algorithms researcher, an instructor at Data Carpentries, and also a perpetual learner. Wake up, Kunal. I'm sure he's been up all night doing some quantum algorithms, right? So thanks for joining us, guys. We'll go ahead and get started. And this slide is here so that folks that are interested in knowing more about our programs and what we can do, they can click on the links that are provided. And we've also included a link to the Tribal Exchange Network group. As often happens in our line of work, our water quality specialist recently took another position. And now I'm wearing the hats for both of us and just to get the work done. And it's part of the network story that we're sharing here today. So we're going to say goodbye to Phoebe. And hi again, Bri. I'm still here. Okay, so to show you where we are in relation to each other in the world, we're using the American Indians and Alaska Natives in the United States map. And you can see on the left-hand side of the map, the red circle, that's about where the Bishop Paiute Tribe is located in California. On the right-hand side of the map in Maine, you can see where the Penobscot Indian Nation and Angie is located. And here are our logos to show that's who we are. And when we first met Kunal, he was living out in Berkeley, and he has recently bounced on over to Chicago, where he's working on his PhD. So excited for him. And what brought us all together was the Tribal Exchange Network group. Basically the mentorship program, working with tribes throughout the nation to build capacity. And I think that as this presentation goes on, Angie and Kunal are going to be dropping some links in the chat. So if you're interested in looking at any of these entities anymore, you can check them out there. And this is supposed to be a roundtable presentation, although the software makes it a little hard to be interactive, but we're going to try our best. And we are going to use the polling tool. And Angie's going to start the poll, and we're going to ask you, what are your 3 main goals when you come to work each day? I want you guys to think about building the capacity of your tribal programs. What are your goals, 3 main goals when you come to work each day? We're just going to leave it open for a moment. So if you can go ahead and click your selections to collect, manage, and analyze data, and you can choose more than one, so choose all that you want. Collect, manage, and analyze data. No, you can't. You get to choose 3. Sorry. Make sound decisions based on that relevant data. Are you just there to make the tribal council happy? Are you sharing data with a variety of stakeholder types? Regular reporting and data submissions to EPA. Work with colleagues to increase program capacity. Bring home the bacon. Planning for future project needs, including future project proposals, available resources, QOPs, integrating modifications based on updated science, etc. Project implementation and completion, and time management. What are your top 3?
Love polls. This is so exciting to see the data come in, you guys. Thanks for
Data,
answering
data,
the
data.
question, Data. It's all about data, man. It's all about data. This is great.
Okay, so I'm not seeing Angie, so you just tell me whenever you think you're ready to move forward.
Yeah, things don't seem to be changing much right now, so that's good. Yeah, I think we're good. I'm gonna end it now so that, and hopefully people will be able to see it. In theory, we checked the right box. Ready?
Ready. Okay, so if you're looking at the poll tool, you should be able to see what we chose as a group, most of us. So it looks like, okay, it looks like, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do you want
I was just going to say, collect, manage, and analyze data to protect tribal resources is one of the tops, tied to the top.
That is tied with planning for future project needs, etc. Very important. If you're not planning, who's going to be here tomorrow to do it, right? And then also implementing those projects and completing those projects. We made sure to put that in there too. So I think we're all on the same track there. Very good.
Yeah,
and then let's see, coming in just behind those are making sound decisions based on relevant data. Very good. And regular reporting and data submission to EPA. It's required. I'm just kidding. Yes, it's very important. Okay, thanks, Angie. Okay, so just a little bit of background on the Bishop Paiute Tribe's Water Quality Control Program. We were established in 1998. We had water quality standards approved in 2006. EPA considers us to have a mature water quality monitoring program. And we were awarded our first EPA Exchange Network grant in 2008. That's about when I took the position that I have now. And they basically said, here's a grant you know nothing about. It's very technical, extremely wordy. Good luck. It's been fun. But with a lot of creativity and determination, we are currently working on our 6th Exchange Network grant here at the Bishop Paiute Tribe. So here's just a little history of how we aligned the tribe's objectives with Exchange Network goals. And in the beginning, so back towards 2008, Exchange Network was really focused on nodes, of course, databases, talking Chrome Air services, JSON, data exchanges, data sharing. They used to be called One Stop. It felt like Barney Rubble whenever I heard that. It was a long, long time ago. And for the Bishop Paiute Tribe, we started out using Exchange Network, putting our air and water data into the TREX system, which some of you have probably heard about. It was a way to manage our data. It was also a way to share our data with the public and also internally as we wanted to. We also started utilizing the Yurok Tribe's open source database called YEDS, the Yurok Environmental Data Storage System. Long story short, I've presented on this many times. Those of you who know me have probably seen it. It was a failure, and this failure taught me a lot. Most importantly, what we didn't want. We didn't want something that we weren't capable of managing in-house. We didn't want something that wasn't secure, like a cloud database housed in Nigeria. I didn't even think about these things. Remember, I'm a water scientist. That's where I come from. We did want sustainable and affordable solutions. And through the years, I've realized that sustainability of a project often depends on our own internal capacity to modify and update these tools, especially with the lack of O&M or operations and maintenance funds for these projects. So later on, Exchange Network kind of we're moved to node clients, and we're talking a lot about pilot projects and partnered projects and mentored projects, and still talking about data sharing and data exchanges. That's been really consistent throughout the years. And the Bishop Paiute Tribe moved towards determining the best cloud-based subscription, cloud subscription-based database for our water quality data needs. And we wanted to make improvements to whatever that system was based on our needs and what it already offered. We needed to improve our community data sharing, and we also were looking to integrate digital field forms. More recently, Exchange Network has moved towards the term of virtual exchange services and has gone completely away from standalone nodes, so no more funding of nodes unless they are node clients or part of the virtual exchange services. Have you heard about an API? API. I've heard a lot about APIs lately. Data appliances, it's not a washing machine. It's also complicated. It's it's something to learn about, and you might be interested in it if you were to build your tribal programs capacity and have the need. Shared database improvements and streamlining business processes, which is Angela Reed's favorite term in the Exchange. What does it mean, Angie? What does streamlining your business processes mean?
There just means doing things
I mean,
better.
just making your day-to-day work easier, more efficient, you know, less resources needed, efficiency, right? We all do that. We are tribal environmental employees. We are efficient. You cannot lean a skeleton, we often say. So the Bishop Paiute Tribe, our continued improvements are to our cloud database. We also are integrating the digital laboratory forms, and we also are building our internal capacity related to data management. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about most here today, as well as sharing and reporting with audiences at various levels. So think about this slide and the next couple slides of us priming the pump and helping you guys think about applying for an Exchange Network grant to build your program's capacity. So we're going to go over some of the language in the Exchange Network solicitation notice from FY21. The general requirements for the tribes are those for air and water grants, federally recognized tribe or consortia in good standing, nothing new there. The three main Exchange Network funding areas for FY21 are number one, increased data access and innovative business processes. Try to just out this in simple terms, because that's part of the big problem with the Exchange Network. It's a lot of terminology that I think is harder than it has. Number two, eliminate paper submittals and expand e-reporting. That proved me wrong. That was pretty easy, huh? And number three, augment the information capacity of Exchange Network partners. So that's what we're going to focus on for the purpose of our work here today. Augmenting the information management capacity of Exchange Network partners. And so who is an Exchange Network partner? So EPA is an Exchange Network partner. Anybody who exchanges data with EPA is an Exchange Network partner, because you are an Exchange Network partner if you are submitting data through a data flow, they call them. So to try to make this interactive, what we'd like to do is ask participants to list EPA data exchanges that you or your colleagues use in the chat. So what EPA data flows do you submit data through? Please use the chat.
And while everybody's doing that, I've definitely put some links into the Tribal Exchange Network site, as well as language about the Exchange Network grants.
Okay, so I'm looking up names of attendees. Who do I know that's out there? I'm going to call you. How are you submitting data electronically to EPA? That's your data flow. Let's see. There you go, Adam Coleman. Thanks very much. WQX and SDW. What's SDW? It's not
Remember, he's got to type, so poor guy.
So WQX, that's what us water folks are submitting data through. How about you air folks? Who's submitting data to EPA? Who has an Exchange Network grant? Oh, safe drinking water. Okay, thank you. So states use CIDWIS, tribes can't, right? This has been an area of contention for me for a long time. Thank you, Callie, or Cal. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Who uses Exchange, who has an Exchange Network grant and reports? What data flow do you use? Jerry Jensen, AQS for air, very good. How about facilities? Does anybody do facilities registry? I kind of think that's more of an East Coast tribe thing. Anyway, that would be the registry service. So FRS is common. And then open dumps, is that what RCRA is used for? So that's another one. And for those of us who have an Exchange Network grant and report, we do that through CDX. So those are all, everyone who utilizes those are Exchange Network partners. And so being so makes you eligible to partner with almost anyone else, right? In the tribal environmental world, EPA. You could also use non-EPA regulatory data exchanges to submit proposals for. So in California, we have the California Environmental Data Exchange Network, or CDN. That's an option. I know that some tribes out there do submit data to CDN so that they can co-manage or co-regulate resources with the state. And then let's see. Okay, so bear with me while I read this, because for you to understand it, I think that we need to read it. There are 3 subcategories in this funding area. And one is the individual capacity building. Bear with me, this one's the longest. So territories, tribes, and intertribal consortia are eligible to apply for capacity building grants, enhancing the applicant's environmental program by increasing their ability to manage and share environmental data electronically across their organization with EM partners. That's like everybody you know at work, right? And tribal citizens. That's your community. Who wouldn't want you to share your data with your community? Applications must identify outputs which will increase the applicant's ability to share environmental information electronically with EPA and other Exchange Network partners and tribal citizens. Examples of a priority data system include the development of a back-end database and tools for entering, moving, checking the including data, or implementing an intra-tribal data exchange. Applications may include developing a data management plan, but the plan must lead to the development of a test or prototype system. So the second category is individual capacity building with a mentor. And so it's the same as above, but the individual applicants who have never been awarded an Exchange Network grant may identify a mentor to help them with their capacity building project. You know, someone maybe who has grabbed yeds and tried to make it beds and it didn't work out, so that you wouldn't make that mistake. Like, I'm here to teach you not to fall in the traps that I did. Then there's also collaborative capacity building. And I'll just say that this one to me is, there's not enough time for my tribe to enter into an MOU and partner officially and collaborate on a project in the time that the solicitation notice would come out and whenever the proposal is due. So for simplicity, let's just stick with the individual capacity building for this one. And we're going to do another poll. We are going to use poll number 2, and Angie's going to send it out. And while she does, so we want to see how your ideas for your respective programs fit into the funding area. Okay, did you launch the poll? Did we already?
I did not. You want to do the one that says, when you think about managing your tribal environmental program, what is your highest priority?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay. So think innovation, think sustainability, think about resources, think realistically, think unrealistically. And then whenever you're done there, go ahead and submit your data. So what's your highest priority? Independence, control, building internal capacity, flexibility, sustainability, or other? I think if you choose other, you can type it in.
I don't know that you can type it on the poll, but it would be great to type it in the chat.
Sure.
We got a few folks coming in.
Okay, a few more. Okay, we'll leave it open for a moment later. So if you haven't answered the poll, please do so.
It's hard to pick just one. That's the problem. I like multiple.
A splitter or a lumper?
All right. I think we should close it.
Go ahead and close it. And then can you share the results? They're already there, right?
They
So
should be there.
It looks like there's a tie between sustainability and building internal capacity. Yeah, those were really hard for me to choose between as well. Okay, so now we're going to ask you a couple questions and we'd like you to answer in the chat. So what tools would increase your ability to manage environmental data electronically? You know, if money wasn't an option, what tools would increase your ability to manage environmental data electronically? So Adam, accessibility, that was to the poll, huh? That was a good one for other. I think that's what you answered. Yeah.
I just typed in the question just so people can.
Thank you. What tools would increase your capacity to manage data electronically? Is all your data in a field notebook in the cupboard? I've seen it. I've seen it. How about an Excel spreadsheet? Very good answer. Having a well-developed IT department that has time to deal with you, huh? That's sometimes we have an IT department, but I don't always get their time.
Oh, an in-house IT department. That's the truth. That's big thinking. Nice job. I love that.
Yeah. Excel. So having Excel. So basically, flat file, we call it, right? More simplistic database. And then would you want to keep Excel on your personal computer? Do you have it on a network? What do you do whenever there's turnover? You know, how do you increase your ability to manage your environmental data electronically? Training with accessible tools like Access, very good. I just saw Leonard's, ooh, even better, an in-house IT department, absolutely. There was a time when I worked here. That was one of my hats I wore.
I didn't see the workshop on Dan's tracer system, but sounds interesting.
Yeah, I missed Dan's tracer system.
Yeah.
Darn it. We were practicing for this one, but I'm glad you got to see it, Leonard. Thanks for your participation. So, you know, think about a database, right? And does your database have analytical tools to enable you to calculate and manipulate and look at your data in different ways and basically make those resource decisions based on your data? That's a really good way to share your environmental or to manage your environmental data. And now I'm going to ask a similar question, but think about your community. Think about the folks that are your regulators. What tools would increase your ability to share environmental data electronically? And so you might want to put these together. You have your dream environmental data system, right? Your data management system. It makes the most sense to easily share that data out with those folks, whether it's your grandma. Grandma needs to know if the water quality where she gets her basket materials is not good. Your cousins need to know if they should not be going in the water with their head under the water. The state that you're working with, your colleagues at your state need to be able to see the data in a really nicely put together graph. And you have to be able to report the data.
We got a good first answer. I love that. The hard part is the tools are easy, but it's building staff capacity and hoping they don't leave. So good. It's so true.
Yes. Bye, Phoebe. We will miss you already. Yes. Yes. It happens. It happens. And, you know, I've seen it happen many times in tribal environmental offices where all the data is on a computer that gets stored in a closet that then goes out of date and nobody can find that data. And so you didn't have a network, you didn't have an IT folk, you know. So our solution has been the cloud-based database, because whether I get hit by a bus tomorrow, let's hope that doesn't happen, you know, someone can come along and they can talk to the folks that run our database and say, can you help us get into the database and see where we're at with it? Everything is there, not just for me, but for, you know, the tribe, for the folks that we're sharing with. Yes, graphs and charts are tools that would increase your ability to share environmental data electronically also. And then Jerry is using AirVision and reporting AQ data on a community website. Very nice. I've seen some really cool work from Air programs on what they've been doing lately. Mobile community apps for both incoming and outgoing communication. Yeah. Have you ever had like a pothole reporting app? You know, hold your public works guys accountable. Every time I pull out of my driveway, there's this pothole. Somebody needs to fix it. Then Adam says, I've been thinking about that. Community members want access to raw data too. So I want to give them accessible avenues, because SQL and GIS and R just aren't accessible to those who own the data. That's right. That's right. So there are ways to do it. And by putting our heads together and seeing what other folks are doing, what's working for you, I mean, that's what drives me. That's what helps me find the best answer, the best solution to my questions and how to do it. So like I said, Bishop started with the idea of taking a proven standalone database that worked for a mature tribal environmental program and wanted to make it work for us. But we didn't realize the requirements when we set out on this project, and in the end it failed. But we've since researched available cloud subscription-based databases, chosen the one that fit our needs best, and we've been working to make improvements on that database that serve our needs. So does anyone here use AWQMS? Let's see, give me a happy face in the emoji or whatever kind of face you want to in the chat if you use AWQMS. Okay, maybe nobody uses AWQMS. Well, you know, they have a graphing feature, and you, as a user, you weren't able to choose the range, the minimum and maximum range on the graphing axis. That's a huge need in science. And Washoe Tribe uses it, yeah. And so we just recently, that was part of our grant to make that tool happen. And we did it. It helped pay part of, you know, our staffing, and it, you know, improved. AWQMS is used for many, many tribes. I think all of a certain region of EPA actually pulls their money and utilizes it kind of as a group. So it is considered a shared exchange network tool. And there are many others. I don't want to just give them all the credit. So kind of looking at how this networking came together from the big picture goals down to the details. So I'm, you know, looking at the program goals. And for this project, they are to improve the data sharing graphics, to make continuous physical data management process more efficient, to streamline weekly bacteria data analysis and sharing with the various stakeholders. What Phoebe would do was more of the project implementation, and she would communicate with the mentors the need and explain the available data that we had to utilize to get to that endpoint. And so Angie and Kunal, being the mentors, would work with Phoebe using the R software coding to get more efficient access to our data in the cloud database and to customize calculations and graphs. Now Angie's going to take over and kind of explain a little bit more of that side of things.
Yes, we're going to get a little bit more into the details. I want to be aware of time so we don't take up too much of it, because I want people to be able to ask questions. But so I want to emphasize, not only is this a path that you two can follow, but you know, just to reemphasize that if you guys know what you're doing and what you want to do in the future, you two can very easily write an exchange network grant for yourself. So we can and we can help you guys as far as mentors when you're doing the work. So the path that we followed is the TXG held their first academy a few years ago, and it was free, and we'll put some information in the chat about the academies as well that are coming up. And that's the first time we held our first data carpentry for ecology lesson, and Kunal was the instructor. So both Phoebe and I got to meet Kunal, and Phoebe got some introduction to the program language. So I just let Kunal just do a little piece on data carpentry.
Sure, yeah. So the Data Carpentries is a workshop series that anyone can host and anyone can have hosted. It's a free lessons on getting started with working with your data. There are topics on Excel and simple programming, and also how to make sure your data is clean and reproducible. And it gives people from any experience level the ability to just learn more about how to take care of their data management. And so I volunteer with this organization, and we did an event with the International Tribal Environmental Professionals, and that's where I met Angie and Phoebe.
And me too. I met
And
you.
Bri.
Yeah, that was the first time. And then it just, blossomed from there. So after that, which is the other thing that we're hoping to do again in the future, is to have follow-up support groups. And during these academy sessions, you can also bring your own data. Last year we tried bringing your own data and getting people to get help with it. So that was very successful. But so the last time we did it, we hosted some virtual biweekly group R chats, which consisted of demonstrations of code as well as follow along coding. So we'd share the code via GitHub and the data via GitHub, email, or the TXG website, so people could download it and get prepared. So Phoebe participated and learned a lot from that. And then when that was a little bit on pause, when we were trying to figure out how to do that, make that happen in the future, Phoebe and I decided to do a weekly one-on-one calls, and then we got the cost of my time covered under the mentorship, so we could do it relatively regularly. So then Kunal helped us when we needed, we had complex code that we couldn't figure out on our own. So it was really great. And then I got to learn that Kunal helps others who code alone. So I'll let him talk a little bit about that service that he provides.
I worked as a software engineer for 4 years, and I have quite a lot of experience with working both with data management and also like the beginnings of programming. And so as like just a free thing, like I do like office hours. So it's like if you're working on some programming, and especially if you're alone, it can be really tough when you get stuck and you have no one to talk to. So I really enjoy talking to other people who are working on problems related to their to programming and to data management. And I think this group is a great way to participate. So I'll post a link to that office hours. Anyone can sign up. It's free, no strings. So feel free to just chat with me anytime in the future.
And so
And
not to embarrass.
Angie and I can both attest that Kunal is one of the gentlest, most helpful instructors. So easy to work with.
Yeah, so don't let his credentials scare you. So even more details. We used R and RStudio to do all of the tasks. Next. Kunal helped us write some code using AWQMS manual for connecting to AWQMS using their web service or API, which allows, instead of having to, like the interface that they have to download files, means you have to download a bunch of files and manage those files and keeps track of whether that's the right version. It's much easier to bring it right into R and have sort of temporary storage and manipulate it as you will, because you always know it's the most up-to-date version on the fewer files. And we also had code to download it so that you could download it, all of it, for access to it at any time. So next, please. We worked on some code to correctly calculate geometric means of bacteria. Next. We graphed both continuous and discrete data in a couple of ways, both static graphs to share with people in sort of printed versions or people that might not be interested in an interactive graph, as well as some dynamic and interactive graphs that hopefully Bri will get to work and show you some demos. And these plots the dynamic ones allow you to zoom in and out, to toggle off so you can turn off whatever plots you don't want to see, as well as when you hover over a point, you can see what the data is behind that point. Next. And then probably, in my opinion, the best thing about saving time with R is it really can automatically process a lot of files and create multiple outputs. So you can bring in lots and lots of files with very few lines of code, actually manipulate them in exactly the same way, and then spit out graphs. For example, like if you have multiple sites with multiple parameters, or continuous data for multiple sites at Bishop. So we had 4 different sites. And so you can write a set of code to process each one of those sites and create a graph for each one of the parameters in those files. And it takes all of like 30 seconds. So doing that manually in a lot of other ways would take a lot of time. Next. The other thing that we did was cleaning data. So making sure like names of things or spellings of words were all the same. taken out weird characters because it can really interfere with, automatically processing data. So there's a lot of ways that you can clean data. In the Carpentries lesson, there's a tool that you'll learn about if you take it called Open Refine, which is great. And I think you can probably do equally as much of that in R as well. So it's a matter of your preference. But a lot of people like Open Refine. So I'd encourage people to check out the Academy. I think it's you.
Okay, and so here's an example of one of the graphs that we create for the community. So this is the geometric mean data of our E. coli, and we collect it weekly. And so basically the red line across the graph is the tribe's water quality standard for E. coli. And so if kids are living at the monitoring site where this little blue dot is, it's important for them or their parents to know that we're having high E. coli levels and that they probably shouldn't be swimming there, at least with their head under the water. And so this is an example. And then we also, of course, send out a map because if you look back at this graph, the legends at the bottom, not everyone knows where SW1, SW2, and SW3 are. So we make sure that we send out a map so that they're all informed of the location of these sites as well. And then I am going to try to show you these more dynamic graphs that Angie was mentioning. And so here is the Plotly graph. And so you can see right now, I just have SW1 and SW2 turned on. So SW1 is the blue triangles, and those are the upstream sites. And you can see that upstream, I'm sorry, hold on here. SW1 and SW4. So this is all one fork of Bishop Creek sampling sites. And the upstream site is the SW4 station. So you can see that upstream, it was actually much lower throughout the year than it was at the downstream site, probably because of cattle grazing, we think. So looking at it this way really helps us because whenever you look at all of our data, it gets a little messy. And so depending on who we're sharing this with and how we want to share it and what we want to communicate, it makes it really easy. And you can also, pick a section of this, and I just learned that I can double click and go right back to the whole graph. So, there's a lot of cool functionality to what you can produce with the R code. And so here's actually the geometric mean data. So it's a little bit cleaner than the raw data. But again, you can see that all the stuff at SW4, this is the upstream site, is lower throughout the majority of the year than it was downstream at SW1, where we do know that we have a lot of cattle just right above this monitoring site. So that's most likely our source. Okay, give me a second while I get this back in gear here. Okay, I think you can all see the presentation like you did before. And so here's an example of a GIF that we made. And we used the 2020 data because we did this in the middle of the water year, basically. And we had a full data set for geometric mean. We only do this through the irrigation season. So you can kind of see, like, let your eye follow the red squares. It's really easy to do. You can kind of see the trends that are going on throughout time. So it's just helpful for various audiences and, communicating what it is that you're trying to communicate.
So just to give you a little bit of reflection on our reflections on the process and what we've learned and the sort of thinking about the future. There's a little bit of a steep learning curve so I will absolutely admit that. However, you got to manage your data. You got to analyze it. You got to report on it. So you sort of don't get around that fact next. So my personal opinion is the long-term benefits really outweigh the short-term investment. So you're going to have to learn some way to deal with this. And I would encourage people to sort of compare a time investment to what you're already doing. How long does it take you to do what you already do? And so come and talk to us about how it might save you time so that you can do the comparison yourself next. As I've said already, a wide variety of tasks can be automated and save a lot of time, especially for those things that like you need to change or need to be repeated, like Bri is making monthly graphs. It's a lot easier to just run some code and import the new data. That, like Kunal, myself, and many others out there, there's lots of people really willing to help teach R. Next. It's very, when you write this code like this, it's really easy to document right in the code. So you can literally write text right in the code that says, this step does this. And that's what Bri actually had Phoebe do, was to write down what it's doing so she can better understand what the code's doing, so that somebody new coming into the code doesn't have to sort of sort through what's going on, and you can share it really. Next. And then I would love, my sort of vision for the future for using this stuff is that we could collaborate on templates or, for tasks that, or reports or whatever it is that might be similar that we all do. We could help each other write code, because if it wasn't for Google and sharing code, other people sharing code, I don't know how I would make it. So take advantage of folks like myself and Kunal and all the other people out there that are wanting to help you guys with this. Next. So some of the next steps, there's a package called R Markdown that allows you to really do some amazing stuff. So we're hoping to use the existing code to help with staff turnover, like Bri's experiencing right now. Next. Writing tribal assessment reports in this package called Markdown, or using this package called R Markdown, which allows you to combine a bunch of different things. So if you're really typically writing a report in R, you got to make the graphs somewhere else and then cut and paste them and then make sure the text wraps around. And it's all a huge pain in the butt. This allows you to really incorporate code for data analysis and graphing, as well as text and images. It really amazing interactive maps. Like you can zoom in and out and turn off layers, and it's just amazing. You can import PDF copies of other files and add hyperlinks super easily. So R Markdown's pretty amazing.
I'm really excited as a Region 9 tribal employee about doing the water quality annual report in R Markdown. I think that once we get the template for it, it will save so much time, and it will automatically analyze the data and report on it the same way every year. So I'm not having to go like, what did I do last year? Because that's what I do. I have a lot of notes, and it takes a long time just to read what I did last year and the year before and the year before.
Yeah, I completely agree. We've started at Penobscot Nation. We've started doing that. I've been helping Maliseats do the same thing, holding down Maliseats. So it's super useful. And you can also export it to a variety of formats, including the ones there. The nice thing about HTML is it can be really interactive. Again, like you can zoom in on maps or graphs. But you can also really easily share it on a web page. And so popping it up on a website, I feel like is a lot easier. Next.
So you're not just sharing it with, EPA, but you could be sharing it with community members on your website. That would be awesome.
Exactly. And then one of the easier way to share this kind of code is using a resource called GitHub. And so we're hoping to do that. We started with that with Phoebe. We got ourselves connected. So it takes a little bit of work, not actually that much work to get connected, but once you do, in our studio really makes it easy. So I thought I'd let Kunal do a little bit of description about GitHub, because he's my guy that helped me get set up for this.
Yeah, so GitHub, there are some tools out there that help you synchronize between your work and other people's work on their computers. And some of them that you might use already are like Access or Google Docs or something. And what GitHub is good for is when you're doing this with code. So if you're using R or some programming language and you want to have your version on your computer and someone else's version on their own computer and be able to work together and keep everything synchronized, GitHub is a great way to do that. It takes a little bit of setup, and I'm happy to offer it if you need help getting set up. But once you're there, then I could be working on a project and I have some changes, and Angie will have some changes also. And GitHub will help you merge together what's changed overall in the project, and will help you go back in time if you need to get to an old version. So I think it can be really helpful once you get it set up.
Yeah, we're also hoping, again, to help support people in getting set up to do that.
So we put this slide here so that you folks are aware of the Tribal Exchange Network's mentorship program. And Angie and I are both mentors, and we basically brought Kunal in, whether he likes it or not, to be a mentor. Actually, you've been awesome at it. I know you love it. And you can click on the Tribal Exchange Network Group's website. I believe Angie's put that in the link or in the chat. And then we also have these links on the slides. So if you want to grab it there, we do it all. So we have folks that are in various tribal environmental media groups. And whoa, what just went in the, is that you, Angie? Something in the chat.
Yeah, it was a lot longer than I thought. Sorry.
And Angie and I are both on the Tribal Exchange Network Group, and we have been for over 10 years. And we really like to work together with other folks in tribal environmental programs to help build the capacity of those programs. You know, what is it that you're trying to do? How can we get you there? Did you just start and nobody gave you a manual on what your position's about? We've talked to you too. You know, and it doesn't have to just be water. We have folks involved with air. We have folks involved with GIS. You know, if you have a question, we will figure out who you can talk to that's been doing this for a long time that can help you. So that, to me, is how I wrap up what the mentorship program is. So please utilize that. It's free. It's paid for by EPA. That's what it's meant for. And then there is a mentor request form. And I think that's part of what Angie posted along with the textbook in the chat on how you can request a mentor. Okay, and then that's really all that we have. And so let's see, maybe Angie, Kunal, and I could write our emails in the chat so folks could reach out if they have any further questions. And I'm sorry that we can't hear your voices. We'd love to hear your voices and have you ask questions. But if you'd like to do so in the chat, please go ahead.
Okay, last thing I'll say is, in my defense, it automatically copies a bunch of information. I just put the link in, but for whatever reason, it added the textbook. So not my fault.
No one's going to hold it against you.
Yeah,
We might not read it.
You will eventually. I would also say, in response to Adam's comment from earlier about tools that would help, the other thing that I'd love to incorporate into some of these trainings in R is R Shiny, because I feel like that allows you to make some really interactive tools that you can post on a web page and might be really interesting to just the general public. So making data available in a way you can customize it. So I have not started down that path yet, but that's a goal of mine, is to get better at that.
Cool. Well, I want to thank Brianna, Angela, and Kunal. Just a reminder, everybody, we will be putting these videos on the website. There is an option to download the chat, so we're hoping also to do that as well. So if you ever want to come back later and get this information, will be available. And again, thank you for the great presentation. Thank you for everyone that participated. I think it was a really good session.
Thanks, David. We're welcome to hang out if anyone's typing a question or if you want to go into, I think there's the different rooms that we can go to. And can you actually talk to people in there?
Good question. Let me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to stay on if people have questions.
Yeah, you can talk in the lounges.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, we have a comment. Jerry mentioned, thanks for sharing this information.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. We hope that someone will use it. Reach out. Like, let's get some tribes some money and build your program, make it better.
This is such a great pot of money for technical stuff. We've used our grants to help cover IT infrastructure, pay IT salaries. They're only 3 years. I say only, it's better than nothing, but there is an operation and maintenance money, but I would say take advantage of it for any kind of IT technical related stuff. Not enough.
And it also doesn't have a match requirement, and it also allows for full IDC, so that keeps the tribal council and the fiscal folks happy.
Yep.
But there is a slight delay with the chat, but I don't see there's any new questions. If you see any here, let me know. But I think we're good.
Great.
Again, if you want to meet in the lounge, you can set that up and go over there. Thank you again.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Take
Bye.
care.